let's start this. I think I'm just gonna start this again. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So if you haven't already, I'm gonna be really cheeky and ask you to like the video and please subscribe to my channel because I don't have very many at the moment and it would be really nice to get some. So today we're going to be talking about growing up Chinese in England. So just going to be touching on a few of my kind of life experiences, and obviously it can relate to anybody else's as well, depending on different ethnicities and things. But even if you're not and you're just English and you grew up here, I mean, the video can be for everyone. So growing up, I didn't actually realize that I was Chinese for a long time in my childhood because nobody really treated me any differently that I knew of at the time. I don't know if people may be saying things behind my back or whatever, but I didn't actually. I was very, very blessed in a way to kind of have good people around me and go to good schools that they did. There wasn't a lot of bullying on me, I say, but there was bullying. I'm not going to say that there wasn't, because I think in every school that there is some sort of bullying. When I was younger, I spoke both English and Chinese, which is Cantonese. I don't speak Mandarin, unfortunately. My mum does, but I haven't quite learned yet. Even my Cantonese is quite... I can speak it. 我可以講中文，不過我唔識講咁多. So that basically what I said was, I know how to speak Chinese, but I don't really know that much. I can get by and speak to family, sort of, but if I get nervous or slightly unsure, just all of the words kind of go out of my head. Like, we all know what it's like in school when we studied Spanish or French, and you know, you kind of remember most of it, but then when you actually get to Spain, you're just like, what am I doing? At home, I spoke mostly English with my mum and my brother, because I think when I was younger, my mum really wanted to make it a point for me to learn English, but I went to English schools since I was a baby, so for me, learning English was gonna happen, you know, that was inevitable. But for me, I didn't get to learn as much Cantonese as I wanted to, and I'm kind of hoping that I get to, like, well, I'm gonna try and push myself to hopefully learn a little bit more. Oh yeah, actually, the quite funny, not really funny at all.
What?
Story about my Cantonese is that I never actually got taught Cantonese, so because we never really spoke it at home and we never spoke it outside or anything, and all of my family live back in Hong Kong who speak Cantonese, I never really got to properly practice it. So at the same time, me and my family are not really sure how I managed to pick up Chinese, because like I said, my mum never sat down with me and was like, you know, hi is way, you know, this and that. Like, I never had lessons. When I was actually a baby, I used to be so scared of people who would speak loudly anywhere, like Spain or something like that. And like Cantonese is, especially by my family, they're a very excitable, very happy family. I love them to pieces. But when I was younger, I was very shy and kind of didn't make a lot of noise, which is complete opposite to what I am now. I used to cry, actually, when I used to go back to Hong Kong and see my family. I would actually cry because they were speaking so loud and so fast and I couldn't understand what they were saying, that I would just sit there at the dining table and I would just cry. And I don't know, I think in a funny way that pushed me to kind of sit there and listen to what they were saying a bit more. And my mum did help me sometimes when I started to get a little bit older. I started asking a bit more questions, like, you know, how do I say this in Chinese? And I was adding it to stuff that I already kind of picked up. So now I'm like, okay with Chinese, I can get by it and speak it, but it is a very, very rare language to speak. So for me, unfortunately as well, I didn't have friends that I could kind of practice it with. So slowly, I was starting to lose my Chinese, but I tried to go back to Hong Kong and see my family every now and then, just so I can kind of like practice some. In primary school, because of, I think, not always speaking, so I moved to England when I was like between 2, 3 and 4, and around that age. So I had been in a very Chinese atmosphere, so when I had actually gone to secondary school, my school made me take extra English lessons. The funny thing was that I ended up actually getting really good at English, and we used to have these funny little tests where our teachers would give us at the beginning of the week on Monday like 10 words that we would have to learn, and depending on how well you did on the last exam, they would give you either harder questions if you passed all of the questions on the last exam, like spelling test. And then if you didn't do so well, they would take you down. And I was actually on the top of my spelling class. And I can tell you now, that didn't last very long. I never strongly got the feeling that I was like different to everybody else, because my mum, thank God, speaks completely fluent English and Chinese. So she had a very mixed environment in the house. Even with the food that she would cook, it wouldn't just be, we'd mostly get Chinese food, don't get me wrong, but she would occasionally cook like a spaghetti and lasagna, and on Sundays she would do the whole roast chicken like typical English family would do, and it was our favourite. She did amazing. But the funny thing, all of my friends always laugh about it when they used to come to my house, was that everybody in England has their roast chicken with like these really nice roast potatoes. I love them now, they're my favourite things to have with roast chicken. But when I was younger, I had rice with my roast chicken instead of potatoes, because that's just what Chinese people do. So I would put my gravy on my rice and mix it all together. And I would go to my friends' houses when I got to about, I think, when I got to about 12 years old, I started to go to like friends' houses to have dinner just when I was there. And I would be eating. Why'd you have to build it this time? Okay, well, they've stopped now. Where was I? So yeah, I'd go to my friends' houses, and I'd be like, where's the rice? Why am I getting potatoes? I'm so confused. And then they would come to my house for roast chicken, and my mum would have put rice with it. But this is the thing, because it tastes so much better with rice. I mean, I love potatoes now because I've lived my whole life having it with rice, but when I was younger, it just tasted so much better with rice. Like, and all my friends loved it once they tried it. In primary school, still in primary school. Let me see if I can find a picture of myself in primary school. This might take a minute, but okay. So here's Joyce as her baby. I look so unhappy. I found it. So this was my primary school photo. It ain't gonna work, but oh my god, I've just been to Barbados with my family here, so I'm like right at the front because I was in primary school, and I've got these braids in my hair, and I'm so tanned compared to the rest of everybody else because I've just been in the sun, and I look so funny. I don't know if you can see, little kid, just there. But when I was in primary school, it was quite funny actually, because I was so super attached to my brother. I didn't have that many friends growing up until I got to like high school, and I made a really good group of friends. I didn't really have that many friends growing up. I don't know if I'm the only person who kind of went through that, but I didn't miss it. But I was really close with my family, so I spent, and I still do, probably spend more time with my family than I actually do my friends. The thing about Chinese people is they have all of these like cute lunchboxes and everything. So I used to have Hello Kitty lunchboxes that I could keep, and they would kind of stack up with one another. There were some people that definitely kind of looked over and just thought like, what are you, like a baby? And like, I was a baby, so why wouldn't I be allowed to go to school with Hello Kitty lunchboxes and everything, and a whole Hello Kitty bag? And I was Chinese, so I'm glad that my mum kept that in me as well. She used to actually cut up my sandwiches, so you have a square sandwich, and she'd have these molds, like cat molds, dinosaur molds, and she would cut my sandwiches into shapes. I don't know why, because I didn't ever used to eat the crust anyway, so I think for her she just thought, might as well just cut it all off. One small thing that I kind of not affected me, but was when I kind of realised that I was Chinese, was when my grandma actually came to visit us in England. She lives in Hong Kong. A bunch of kids was taking the mick out of my grandma because she has a fat face, and as most of us know, Chinese people, they do have like, you know, we have hooded eyes, kind of flat face. I have quite a big nose actually for a Chinese person, but typically, and my family do have a more Asian, because I'm half English and half Chinese, so I've managed to kind of get an in-between. But yeah, it wasn't until kind of like I saw them kind of taking the mick out of my grandma for having a flat face, like they were talking about her flat face when she was sat on the bench, and then I kind of realized like, oh, we are a bit different, like me and my family are a bit different to like my friends and things like that. So but then even as I got older, because my grandma, how she responded to it, she didn't get offended, she laughed. She finds it funny because, you know, for these young kids maybe at the time, they hadn't seen that many Chinese people before, so it was kind of strange for them. My grandma just kind of laughed with them, and she was like, yeah, like I've got a flat face. So I think also in a way, her reaction to that, in a funny way, kind of implemented how I reacted to other people in school when they would maybe try and make a comment about my Chinese that maybe they didn't realize it, but kind of offended me about my eyes or something. I would just kind of be like, yeah, I do have Chinese eyes, like I'm Chinese. And if somebody called me like a noodle muncher, I'm like, yeah, you know what, I love noodles. You love noodles, don't you? So my biggest thing was when I got to high school, and I started to kind of feel, because all of the girls that I was seeing that were pretty and popular and all of this in my high school, secondary school, sorry, as we call it here, I kind of just felt that because of the presumption about Chinese people and their eyes and everything, I just felt like nobody was ever going to be attracted to me here. You know, like I was only going to get a Chinese boyfriend because that was the only person that was ever going to be attracted to me. And I was shown very wrong about that, that's the thing. And because for me personally, I'm not really attracted to like Asian guys. I am to some, but just not like that many. No offense. I kind of didn't realize that you could have a white boyfriend, if that makes, or English boyfriend, if that makes sense, until I actually finally had one. And then I had a best friend in high school, secondary school, and we were like the inseparable almost, I say that. And then we ended up dating, but he was like the most English guy you would ever meet, like skateboarder, smoked weed. Don't know, that doesn't really make you English, does it? No. So if you're still in high school or something like that, I would say that the best thing for you to do is just surround yourself with positive people that understand where you're coming from and they're interested in where you're from, rather than people that constantly take the piss out of it and kind of just push you down. Because if you're around a load of people who kind of take the mick out of you and say that this is weird, you're going to gradually feel like this is weird, no matter what. So I think it's important to just surround yourself with people who are happy and interested in where you are from, because then it will just benefit you in the future, just to be more proud of where you're from. I think I already told you to like and subscribe, so if you haven't yet, I'm very disappointed in you. That's right. That's right. Especially if I know you. If I know you and you haven't subscribed, we're no longer friends. I will see you guys for the next video. If a quick side note, if you have any suggestions or anything of something that I can add, then please, or film, a new vlog that I can film, that'd be great.